everybody, and welcome to the 24th episode of Five Boys in a Business, a podcast where we talk about our business, our family, and the many shenanigans involved therein. You can catch the podcast live on Facebook and Instagram around 10:30ish every Monday morning, or you can listen to it on all podcast services, iTunes, Google Podcasts, reallycoolpodcast.com. Yes, that is a real website. Also, be sure to check out our merch store. We have super comfy long sleeve and short sleeve all-star shirts, along with our new winter stocking hats for those days when you need to keep your noggin warm. Today, what?
I needed to say, in case they didn't know who I was.
Oh, I'm Richie King.
I'm Emily King. Usually I make that blunder. That's why I'm bringing it up. So, yes. And who do we have with us today?
Principal Michelle Boyd from Our Lady of Grace Catholic School in Noblesville, Indiana.
Whoop, whoop.
Yay.
So it's Catholic Schools Week. So that's why we thought it would be a great idea. No better week than this week.
That's right. That's right.
That's why she's joining us, was kind enough to join us. So
a little bit more about Michelle Boyd. She attended Catholic schools for the first 12 years of her education, went on to get a bachelor's degree in education in 93 from Indiana University and a master's degree in administration and educational leadership from Ball State in 2007. She's taught for the Archdiocese of Indianapolis for 14 years, then to Brownsburg Public Schools for 5 years, and then back to the Archdiocese of Indianapolis as a mentor teacher, master teacher, and assistant principal for 9 years, prior to joining Our Lady of Grace, where she has been the principal since 2006. Mrs. Boyd was the principal of St. Monica Catholic Schools in Indianapolis for 6 years. Her family outside of Our Lady of Grace consists of her husband of 26 years, Brian, 3 sons, Hunter, Dakota, Austin, and 1 daughter, Caroline, as well as a German short-haired pointer named Zeus, aptly named Zeus, I'm quite certain.
yes, exactly.
So, Mrs. Boyd, tell us what Catholic Schools Week means to you.
Oh, it's such a great week. It's really like the culmination of, when you think back to school and your favorite Spirit Week or Homecoming Week. That's really what Catholic Schools Week is. It's an opportunity to not only dress up. I almost wore my PJs here,
right.
But then I thought it might not be appropriate. My Minnie Mouse PJs. But the kids have an opportunity to learn about the virtues. We talk about what the different opportunities we have to do service. Today was kind of an exciting day. All the kids were bringing in diapers and baby
stuff,
wipes and clothing for infant for the O'Connor House. Mm-hmm. And just amazing to see that table full of supplies that the kids have that opportunity to give to that organization. So
awesome. And Catholic Schools Week, it's nationwide, right? So it's like all the Catholic schools in the nation are celebrating at the same time.
It is, yeah. It's like our national holiday this week. So
it's really cool. It's such a neat concept because that, everybody together, you know what I mean? It's so powerful. I think the message is so powerful.
For sure,
So.
yeah. And we have different events, set up all week, but our 5th graders will go and celebrate Mass together with other 5th graders around our diocese, and that'll be at Guerin Catholic on Thursday. And, we have, like I said, fun activities planned, but just a great opportunity to celebrate
together. Yeah, absolutely.
So a little bit more about you. Where did you grow up?
I'm from Indianapolis,
okay.
And I live pretty much about 5 miles from where I grew up my whole life.
That's awesome.
So we actually live in the house that my husband grew up in. So
oh wow,
not much change in the Boyd family, but
a lot of memories there. Huh?
Yeah. So just down 37, I attended St. Matthew's grade school and then on to Bishop Chatard High School. So great, just kind of Indianapolis is a big city, but it seemed small just being in that community.
That's cool.
And still there. So my kids went through St. Matthew's and graduated there, and now I have 3 in high school at Bishop Chatard.
That's
so
awesome.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
It's so fun to see, the when your kids go back through the systems that you went through.
Yeah.
Like, and so I love seeing that. I was blessed to have Johnny, transferred from Our Lady of Grace over to Clay, but when I was growing up, we didn't have really any. I think Our Lady of Mount Carmel was present as far as a school around our area that you could go to as a Catholic school, but we didn't move back from Ireland until I was like in 6th grade. So I went to Clay, and a teacher, I had a math teacher at Clay that ended up having Johnny as a student. And so it was hilarious because I was like, oh no, you do whatever you want with him, yell at him, do whatever you got to do to do whatever he needs to do. And so it's fun seeing them go through the systems, you know. I mean, for us and our family, we value faith-based education. You know, neither one of us were raised that way, but it's been so important for our family. What did it mean to you as a younger person, you know, being raised in a faith-based system, you know, as far as for your life and development?
You know, it's just it's great to have that sense of belonging, right? And community is the other big word that like comes to mind. You know, even now going back to St. Matthew's, I'll see, like you said, old teachers or, you know, kids that I grew up with, their parents. And it's just, you know, they greet you and welcome, like they're your own kid, you know? And that's really, like I said, being in Indianapolis, you think so big, but when you really think about it, I run into, you know, people up here in Noblesville all the time that are, have roots, you know, close to where I grew up and stuff. So.
Right. Yeah, I always think it's cool that I always have this feeling like even if you haven't seen somebody, like say Harrison's friends from when he was growing up, and I might see them out in the community, or maybe, you know, we used to see them all the time because we were at school functions or athletic events, and now we haven't seen them for a while, like Nick Anders, for example. Right. And still to this day, like if you were to sit down in a room with them, you still have a certain level of familiarity where you can just be transported back to, you know what I mean? Like, and you just have this connection with everybody.
Well, it's interesting when I first came into the parking lot at Our Lady of Grace, never been there, to interview for the job, park my car, get out of the car, and the first lady I see is Maribel Selby, who's a parishioner there at Our Lady of Grace. And I mean, I hadn't seen her in 40 not that long, 25 years. Anyway, I taught her daughter my very first year. So 26 years ago. Wow. And here's this is the first person I see. So, you know, there's just those God moments, right? But definitely those connections are very powerful.
Harrison, you grew up faith-based education. You went, you know, we transferred you in 3rd grade. That's when we decided that's what we were going to do for the whole family. And Harrison did so well through everything that the poor other boys, they didn't have any choices. We saw how he was doing and how he turned out, and we were like, that's it. Everybody else doesn't get a choice, you know. What did it mean for you?
Pregnant pause.
I mean, like when you look back on
Come on, what did your school teach you?
Yeah.
It was definitely different going from a public school like Cherry Tree to go to Our Lady of Grace, which you know, you went to mass every Thursday and you wore uniforms. But I think that, I mean, I agree with that sense of belonging. I mean, I don't see, I still consider many of the people I went to OLG with that also went to Guerin like friends, and if I see them, I'll say hi and whatnot. So I mean, I get where you're coming from.
That connectivity, yeah.
I've always thought, you know, I remember when we first toured Our Lady of Grace, and he spent about a half a day there. I remember thinking the sense of community and a sense of belonging, and how it was very unlike. And it's not the public school's fault. I think they're working within the system that they've been given, but that sense of community is very distinct at Our Lady of Grace, and certainly at Guerin as well. So,
what about sports? Right, because you played sports.
I did. Yes.
So, what did you play in high school?
So in high school, well, you know, did a little bit of everything. Back then you could, right?
Yeah.
Did volleyball, and then decided that wasn't for me. Switched to golf. I mean, why not?
Yeah, exactly.
Never played that before, but gave it a shot. But softball was my
thing.
sport.
Yeah.
Yep. So, which when I think about it too, back then, you know, CYO was a huge part. The Catholic Youth Organization was a huge part of my life growing up, and just really gave you that opportunity to try all the different sports, which I know now there's a lot more specialization that happens so early on. But yeah, then I continued to play softball in college.
And college, where'd you go again?
Are you undergrad?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's so cool. Yeah. I feel like, you know, for me, sports were so influential in helping me develop skill sets.
Absolutely.
Don't you think? Like, especially as a leader in a community like Our Lady of Grace, like having skill sets to be able to, you know, multitask, or, you know, having crucial conversations, or just that team approach to everything.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
And just, again, when the CYO, you might not always be on a winning team.
Right.
So it definitely teaches you some of those harder skills too, humility and, how to be a good sport, whether you're
Yep.
you're winning or not. But yeah, I mean, I definitely feel like it gave me some of those determination, empowerment, some of those skills that, again, life skills that you can use forever.
Yeah,
So.
they're so powerful.
It's so interesting because I know that when we've talked to people that are former collegiate athletes, they are always I shouldn't say a step above, but they always have that skill set you mentioned, kind of coming through the gate that sometimes other people have to develop over time, which is always valuable as an employer.
Yeah,
So,
for sure.
did sports play a role in your faith formation? Or development over time?
I do think it did, and a lot of it, again, was probably based off of that Catholic youth organization.
Sure.
A lot of times our teams would come together and go to mass on Sundays, and then the games would be after
Right.
that. I think, thinking about just the role models that the coaches were
Right.
for me growing up too, was pretty amazing. So when you start off in, third and fourth grade playing, and then you have some of those same coaches
Right.
for 8 years, right? Because no
else
other
is-
parent will step up to,
Exactly.
to coach this
Yeah.
group of unruly kiddos. But no, we just had that opportunity to have them be available to us and serve
cool.
as role models. And again, their faith and how it impacted,
Right.
their family too. So.
That's awesome.
So now you've landed Our Lady of Grace. What's your favorite thing about being there?
Gosh, I really do have so much joy every day. Like I said this morning, just like, hey, I'm gonna put my PJs on and go
Right.
to work. But I have the most incredible staff there. Just teachers that a lot of them are seasoned teachers that have committed themselves to education and have stayed put at Our Lady of Grace. And it really does make my job pretty easy knowing that I have that
Core-
system,
yeah, core system, yeah.
of staff that's right behind me, rallying me. And again, it's a pretty special community there. So our parents are incredible, and again, the kids just bring me so much joy.
Well, I thought, when the first year you were there, one of the things I thought was one of the cooler things you did was the joy concept, and bringing in that feeling to the culture of, we can create, feelings of joy. There's so many opportunities throughout the day. You just have to look for them and you have to take advantage of them and, and push them out there, and I thought that was a really neat thing to see happen.
Oh, Calvin was,
Yeah,
he was obsessed.
That was a bit of an outlier.
He had
Yeah, exactly.
his joy tokens,
yes.
and
Oh,
he
yes.
would tell me every day how many joy tokens he
yeah.
had. So
But it was a neat
special.
directive that was pushed out to make people focus on that. Like, you have a choice, of where to put your time and what to focus on. And especially young people, I think that's really helpful for them, to have something like that that's their focal point. So I thought that was a really cool concept that you put out there. Yeah.
I remember it with Calvin, the joy tokens.
Oh, yeah.
So I was like, where are you getting all these? You really bring that much joy? Or are we lifting them from somewhere? Just asking.
Yeah, exactly. Whose
checking.
joy token did you take?
Yeah.
Oh, gosh.
The younger
That's
teachers
hilarious.
would make wallets for the little ones,
Right.
because, and keep the wallets, I'm going to keep your wallet back
That's
here.
hilarious. Oh, my gosh.
So backing up a little bit, what was it that made you want to go into education, if you can remember back?
Again, just kind of growing up and always being around a lot of other families and kids. I babysat and liked, genuinely
Right.
liked kids. I actually started in physical therapy
Oh,
and
wow.
thought,
Okay.
yeah, that's where
Yeah.
that's what I want to major in. I went to University of Evansville for a year, and when I was there, that's what I was majoring in, and then found that the sciences just, it was hard to do softball and not be there in the
Right.
labs and experience. I was more of a hands-on visual learner, and anyway, I came home and told my parents that I wanted to make a switch all around, and got engaged really young, and that kind of played a part in that too. But no, just had an opportunity to go and take some. I turned mine off too. Our phones are I'm like,
They're not
I
listening to
turned
us.
this off, and I was like, that's the one thing you
hilarious.
say all the time. It's in here, but anyway, so I had an opportunity to take some, classes, and just really fell hard and loved
Cool.
it. Yeah,
That's awesome.
What is the value behind faith-based education? Like, what do you feel like is the value behind it? Like, why? If you had somebody that was sitting on the fence and trying to decide, especially in Hamilton County, because there's a good public
Absolutely.
school system, and they're trying to decide, how do I choose Our Lady of Grace or St. Louis de Montfort or Our Lady of Mount Carmel? How do I choose one of them over going to a public school? Like, what's the value behind the faith-based system?
It's hard when you're coming in and maybe your kindergartner is your oldest and you're making that decision. Like you said,
Yeah.
we have great public schools around us. I think for families, they have to get, involved, right? Right away. And when we reach out to them, and the church is there for them to be a part of too, that helps that connection right off the bat. But I really think the difference is, it's hard to see kindergarten, first, second. It's really fast forward to 6th, 7th,
Yes.
and
Oh, yeah.
8th grade, when those kids have been together with this same group of 40 kids for 8 years. They are like family to them.
Sure.
And, we try to tell that through stories. I have my own, stories with my own kids or my own stories growing up, and just say, give us a chance at those younger grades, because they're going to teach the same things
Sure.
in these great schools that are around us, but it's the longer that they're together. And those middle school years are scary, right?
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
You want to know who your kids are hanging
Yes.
out with, and you do, because these parents, these kids for so long, that they're like your own kids,
Right.
So you parent,
Yes.
you help parent them,
Right.
and it just, I feel like it's hard to show that right off the bat, but
Yeah.
but a lot of parents, can communicate that. So it's
Yeah, I mean, I
helpful.
think for K, I agree, like, preschool or K, first grade, yeah, the concepts are the same and they're teaching the same, material per se. But I will say that I feel like with like Our Lady of Grace, like, because that's the only school that we pretty much know as the younger grades, like, well, and then our experience with Harrison, and our reasons why we moved him was, I think that they are, well, Our Lady of Grace specifically is very, very good at teaching to where your child's at or above, like, so helping them get where they need to go, and the teachers have a genuine interest and it's not fake. It's like genuine interest in helping them get to where they want to go. And you feel it when you're there. You feel it when you're in the classroom with them. The communication, piece, which is so, I think, important nowadays with parents and whatnot, as far as, wanting to know where your child's at, or are they causing trouble, or are they, however, if you're trying to put an action plan in place, or, any of those, topics, I feel like Our Lady of Grace is exceptionally good at that communication piece, and feeling like you're in the loop, like you're actually like an active participant in their education, which is always told to you as a parent that
Absolutely.
you are.
Yeah.
But then they're in school, but then it's not a say. That's not really the word I'm looking for.
More influence, maybe.
Yeah. You feel like you're really participating.
Yeah, you partner
Yeah.
with your teachers.
Yeah. And it's really a neat feeling.
That's all. Yeah.
It's different that I feel like when we were at Cherry Tree with Harrison, that is not the feeling that we had. And that was a main reason why we moved him, was because we were like, I mean, just we weren't making a connection, and so I think that was a real big selling point. And I think, and speak up if you think but I know I'm talking, I'm doing all the talking.
Speak up if you want to, but not really.
Not
Go
really,
ahead.
but so stay quiet. But I think the messages are the same. They're hearing at home, they hear at school, which is of huge value to me, because then it's not just your parents being blah, 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 in their ear. They're also hearing all these other people. And so I feel like, well, if all these other people are also saying these things, then it's probably not that far off, from the truth, than
Oh,
being
for sure.
hearing all these other messages. Well, like, maybe my parents aren't really there's this whole other way, you know what I mean? And so I feel
Well,
like
and I think too, the size of our school is so helpful. I mean, I know every kid's name in the school,
right.
but I would say most of my teachers know every kid's name in the school
yeah.
too. And, you know, because there's lots of those siblings and families that they've had in the past and everything. But it's just, you know, the kids feel so welcome to
Yes.
come in. And when the like you said, when the parents are active and are participating in that and partnering with us,
Right.
it makes it great.
A really good environment.
Yeah, I think my sense of the sense of community there. I know that I've always thought that the kids that go there, I mean, by definition, you're more involved in church activities. You're more, certainly if you go to church there like we did, and just overall that sense of community, knowing everybody and knowing all the kids. And like Trevor is he's a senior now at Guerin, and he's in his class are people he went to preschool with.
Yeah.
So it's really cool to have known those families for 12
13
plus years.
Yeah.
You know them,
crazy.
and you're always dealing with a somewhat like value system, like you talk about who your kids are hanging out with. So I've always thought it was absolutely fantastic. I mean, from the teachers on down, it's been great. Let's see here.
I think the other thing I'd plug for OLG is the resource department. Sorry, I'm just plugging OLG. It's Catholic schools.
I know, right?
And so Richie's like, oh my God, shut up.
OLG schools keeps flashing.
Well, that's one of the things
I'm
we're
just
here
joking.
for.
Come on, Harrison.
Just
And
joking.
so I mean, you know, Nora Schmuddy has been with our family since Harrison
right.
was,
Yeah.
you know, I mean, and she has people underneath her, and the way she's been able to grow the department, and you know, I know that she hasn't done it by herself, but I mean, just being, you know, leading that area and that push and that, you know, is really inspirational. And I think that if you have a child like we have had, children, not just one, but children,
Plural.
meet Nora, that you should be at Our Lady of Grace, because you cannot find a better resource department.
Oh yeah.
And
Nora's
I don't
absolutely
She's
fantastic.
such an advocate for students, and
It's just amazing.
just forms these relationships
Yes, yeah.
with the students, but then also with the families.
Right.
Yeah, when she goes, I'm gonna have to think hard about if I'm staying.
I know.
She's
It is.
incredible.
It's just,
Incredible.
I mean, she's
Comes
put
in
together a
anyway. I've been
great
waiting for this
system.
day to come.
Yeah.
It's a double whammy.
Yeah, exactly.
What do you think a role? We talked so much about Our Lady of Grace. What do you think the role of the faith and that constant, you know, reinforcement of that each day plays in the students' lives at OLG?
You know, I do think it just helps set them up for success later on. You know, they get to see adults in the parish who are, you know, maybe in crisis or celebrating a sacrament like marriage.
Right.
But the kids get to witness some of these really cool experiences that I do think deep down it just gives them that sense of, you know, hey, where do I want to go? So whether it is the marriage life or whether it is an opportunity for a vocation of, you know, of sorts, it just allows them to see that you know, firsthand for so many years. So, and prayer is such a needed thing in our nation right now, and for the kids to be able to come together and see how, you know, saying a rosary for someone who is sick or suffering, how that just silence is needed. So it just
How powerful it is.
I think that one of the things that I've noticed with our kids is one of the greatest gifts it gives them is kind of a foundation, kind of a rock to kind of come back to. I think with you know, with so many messages that can be sometimes unhealthy, you being bombarded with those things constantly. It's a good grounding force to be able to go back to that base and say, this is what, you know, this is where I'm really coming from. So I think to the extent that really adds value to the kids' lives, I think it's fantastic. And I think I can't take credit for this. There was an interview I saw years ago, and there was a younger woman that had written a book about the value of a Catholic education. And one of the last questions in the interview was, what's the value add behind a Catholic education? And she said it allows the kids to be younger just a little bit longer in this world. And I thought that was really, I mean, very a testament to, you know, to, in our experience too. It lets them kind of develop at their own pace and enter young adulthood and adulthood
with a base,
with that foundation,
that
to be able to handle those things that, and some kids, unfortunately, their lives are thrust upon them that they can be maybe not ready for.
Right.
So I always thought that was one of the great things that a Catholic education generally, and with Our Lady of Grace specifically, offers. So.
That reminded me when you were talking about them witnessing sacraments. One of my favorite things we did was we had Calvin baptized. This was before you were there. We had Calvin baptized at a
Thursday
mass, at a school mass at Our Lady of Grace, and it was the coolest thing.
Yeah.
And I'm so glad we thought to do it. Harrison was a freshman at Guerin, and then everybody was there.
Johnny was kindergarten.
The kids were Johnny was in kindergarten, and so in an all-school mass, Calvin was baptized, and it was the neatest thing because all the kids were there.
Yeah.
And the teachers were there, and then parents of the students that we knew were there. I mean, it was just a really neat thing. I was like, oh, that was so cool. I should have done that with all the other kids.
That was the last time Calvin behaved, actually, at Our Lady of Grace for an extended period.
Oh, gosh. It was neat this weekend to see everybody had stickers on. And there were so many people with stickers on that I did not.
Yeah, name tag Sunday.
Yeah, name
That's what
tag
it's called.
Sunday. Yeah, and so I was like, was really cool.
I have a funny math story with the kids. Many years ago, I think Holden was in maybe the 2nd or 3rd grade. I went to a Thursday mass, and I sat, and he didn't know I was coming. He was so well behaved, just sitting there, and I was like, I need the teacher to come to our mass on Sundays because you're far too well behaved for normal behavior. So.
Oh, gosh.
Yeah, that's when the parents, we had tours and open house this weekend, and they find out, they're like, the 4-year-olds go to mass. We're like, yeah, they do great. They're like, you take a whole class.
I know, right? I've always been shocked that they can do that, but they do it.
I know it.
But
it's pretty impressive.
That is a great thing too about our, school ranging from, gosh, well, now we have 13-month-olds all the way to 13-year-olds, really.
Right.
And so to see those 13-year-olds come down
Those
and
kindergarten
grab
buddies,
those
I know,
little
it's
5-year-old
so awesome.
hands
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
walk them to mass and.
and my kids still know their buddies.
Yeah, the
you know what I mean?
buddies.
Like they'll still know who was their buddy, or
Yeah.
it's really neat. It's a really neat concept, and that's one of the selling points I always talk to other families about is that the kids interact with older kids, and the older kids interact with the younger kids. And that's really a neat skill set that they're developing.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
To mentor, that sense of community and everything that they offer. So.
Yeah, because, the kids go through that middle school phase and, you don't know who's coming through the door.
I know, right?
I always have, make up names for my husband to know, like, let's be careful because this is not our normal Caroline coming through the door.
That's hilarious.
Like today, so-and-so. But it's great to see the middle school kids, recognize their siblings. Like they'll walk down the hall and give them a fist pump or a high five. And, I tell parents, yes, they do like each other.
Right.
Exactly. Yeah, because that's always a question when they're at home sometimes.
I know.
Do they really like each other? Yes. Yeah, I had a moment one time, Harrison, he stepped out for a second, when I was, when they were little, and I remember going to Harrison. Do you remember the story, Harrison, when you were little? And I went to you or Holden, I can't remember who it was, and I was like, I just want you all to get along.
Gonna sit here.
Oh,
You're
gosh.
gonna sit here.
Okay, very funny. I know.
1 through
right?
10.
1 through 10. So, what is it nowadays, being at the school, like free time? What do you enjoy doing with your free time, besides all your children?
Oh, well, yes. My children are very active in sports, and so just this weekend we had wrestling, volleyball, and wrapping up football. We had our football banquet. So. My boys' team won state,
That's
so I gotta give that big
Congratulations.
plug. It's
That's
pretty
awesome.
exciting. I personally love. Well, I love an HGTV. If that could just be playing on, I love watching all of that. But no, I love playing tennis. So,
Okay,
yeah.
cool. We have one of our associate veterinarians went to play
Ball State.
Ball State, played tennis in college. She took us out to play tennis one
We
time.
didn't do so well.
We didn't do so well.
The joints don't cooperate like they used to.
But I did like it. It was fun.
It's great. I got involved in, after you do sports so long, and then softball's not really one of those lifelong sports.
Right, exactly.
Unless slow pitch and other things are involved. But I did the USTA, so the Tennis Association, and got dumped on a team. And who knew, like, your team, if you play the regular season, then you win. So our first season, we, end up going to Arizona.
That's
wow.
so cool.
What is this?
Yeah.
Adult,
This is
travel
adult, like,
sports.
Right.
That is so
So
cool.
I just got hooked ever since then. And our
my
little
gosh.
club that we belong to in the summer has a few tennis courts and swim pool and stuff
Yeah.
like that. And so a bunch of us will just
Now, do any of the
play on
kids play
weekends.
tennis then?
None of my
them.
kids.
You can't get them to play, huh?
No. I know. They think they can play and beat mom, and
Right. They can't.
so
That's right.
they're
Exactly. That's the
baseball,
best.
and so they're out there,
Right.
trying to hit it over the fence. I'm like,
Yeah.
that's not how you play. There's a little finesse. This game.
It's still
Yeah.
fun to be able to beat them, especially the boys, isn't it? At a sport.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, Emily does that in basketball. She's out there like swish, swish, swish. The boys are like,
I
I
can't
can't
be-
hit anything. It's like you're never gonna hit it throwing like that. So.
I can't beat them really now anymore.
you
I mean, I
can.
can beat them in a game of
Yeah, you
horse,
can.
but I couldn't beat them in one-on-one per se. Not really.
Yeah, you could.
No, I couldn't. Not really.
Whatever. I watch it. I'm the spectator. So.
Just step back and pop a three.
That's right. Just shoot from afar.
There you go.
Exactly.
When did you think you crossed that threshold where you couldn't beat him anymore?
I think Harrison.
There's never been a
was-
point where Emily couldn't beat me. I played against her one time. One time. And after as I picked my ego off the ground and tried to carry it off the court.
I think Harrison was probably like his sophomore year. He was on JV at Garin. Freshman and sophomore year. That's when
Okay.
I was like, yeah, he's much bigger and faster than me.
Yeah,
So-
well, you played against bigger people than him, though.
Yeah. Yeah, but I was older. And I was younger then.
Yeah, that's true.
When I was 26, but
You could
not
do
anymore.
it. Not so much anymore.
Nope. I'm a little slower. Not as fast.
Age will do that to you.
I think my brain thinks I can move faster, but then
That's how you get hurt. That's how you blow out your Achilles.
and exactly like I can picture myself doing everything that I would want to do, and then you try and do it, and you're like, well, that didn't work.
Yeah.
Like,
So you've heard, during our Catholic Schools Week or the our Grace Gala that's coming up, we always auction off the basketball.
Right.
Well, adults keep getting hurt at these events.
do they really? Are they
Well,
really?
Father Bauer has
Oh,
blown
God.
out both knees
That's
at
right.
the basketball.
That is right. Oh my gosh.
Banter, I can't think of his first name, but
Oh,
he
yeah,
got
Eric
in-
Banter. Yeah.
Eric Banter got the first game that I witnessed, and I was like,
my
oh.
gosh.
So anyway, Father's like, nope, we're not going to do that basketball anymore. Like, we can't cover the insurance,
Gotta
the
get
of
liability
workers'
insurance down.
comp of these people getting hurt.
That's
so
hilarious. Oh
yeah,
my
but we are
gosh.
going to do volleyball, eighth
Oh, there you
grade.
go. Okay.
I'm like, concussion.
Now the list starts going in your head. You're like,
Have you
"God,
seen
Just laying
Mr.
down.
teeth coming
Flagging
out?"
him.
Yeah,
exactly.
Jake Teitchen
Oh goodness.
comes up for the big wind up, and
It is funny, though.
I never would have thought of that. Like thinking of it from we have to manage workers' comp, like with bites and all that stuff. But I'm
Oh,
sure
gosh.
at the
It's a
church, with
work-related
events, he's
activity.
like, oh, here we go again. Like, great idea, guys. But you can just see
Father
the
Tom
numbers
throwing
and like the insurance company calling him and be like, you're now
You went up 3
canceled.
points.
Oh gosh. Yeah, that's too funny.
So yeah, no, it's so funny because as you get older, Emily and I go to work out 3 days a week, and we talk to Tatum Perez, who's kind of runs the class,
yeah.
about how to manage that because you think you can do it until you do it, and you go home and you can't lift your arm or whatever, and you think you have to really manage that. You're not 25 where you can throw things around anymore and
all
walk
the-
it off.
So did you do the thing that she had on Saturday?
No, we were
we had a
busy.
quarterly meeting here. We had our meeting
Yeah.
here, our staff meeting here.
Okay.
I want to do the one the next month. It's
The
in
teachers
February.
were all talking about
Yeah.
it, so
Yeah,
they
oh,
were
yeah.
like fretting, like Mrs. Sanchez. She's gonna watch this and know I called her out, but she was really worried about
Yeah.
the swimming aspect of it. She's like,
That's what I.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
like
lay
to have
on
a
my
preserver.
back and
Yeah.
float, but
Oh yeah,
no,
she said
it's-
you just had to swim for 10 minutes. I was like, okay, I can do that. I was like, am I allowed to like stop swimming for a minute, like to keep swimming for the 10 minutes? She's like, yes, and I was like, okay. So I was all for doing it. And then I realized we had the staff meeting.
This is
so I'm
this is
gonna
how
do the one in
pathetic we
February.
are. When did we do the triathlon over a month?
Oh, that was in the beginning of the summer where she did
Last
that.
year?
Yeah.
So anyway, we have a very small pool in our backyard. We were doing
Like
laps.
small.
I'm dying. Like after 2 things, go.
Yeah, swimming is not our thing. My sister's thing. They swam in college, but not me. No way. I cried. My dad put me in the pool and made me get on a swim team. And then it was West Lafayette Sharks. I think my sister would have to correct me if that's not right. But yeah, and I was like, I'm not doing this anymore, Dad. He's like, all right.
It got so bad. I remember when we were swimming in our backyard, I had to find a snorkel and the toy thing and put it on, so I couldn't turn. I get breathing in water. The kids are like, "What are you doing?" I was like, "Don't ask." I got 10 more laps. Shut up.
all my kids are pretty good swimmers. We encourage them, to,
Yeah.
let's
Right.
have a schedule in the summer, and so my husband or I would take them to swim practice in the
Right.
morning, and then
Yeah, so like we had
Join the
neighborhood
swim
swim team. That's what our
Right.
kids do. So like at the club, that's where they did it too. Like swim team. for you guys. Is
Yeah.
that where,
Yeah.
we loved it. It's great. It's
Yeah.
like just long enough of a season that,
Oh, it's perfect. Yeah.
you know, that they can get the experience of swimming.
Right.
But it's funny because they'd have friends over who didn't have
Didn't
access to
swim.
that or didn't swim, and our kids are like
Doing backflips off the roof into the thing.
And the poor mom's like sending them with a life jacket and like all this.
Somebody watch him. I was like, I guess. Maybe no, I don't know.
Hopefully. Yeah.
Yeah.
In fact, I remember Johnny. This is years ago because we moved in our house in 2007, and he was about a year old. And they were doing the back patio. Remember those guys?
Yeah.
And they said, Johnny's really young to be going off with that. We used to have a stump because it's too small of a pool to have a diving board. So we had a stump that we cut out of a tree. We just set up there. And he was just, jumping up, 2 or 3 years old, jumping in and jumping out, and no
Yeah,
problem. So
no
they've always been
problems.
very good swimmers. And
We have
and they're
pictures
Laura.
of the pool that we belong to has a 10-foot diving board.
Oh, wow.
And it's
that's
still
cool.
like in a spring.
Oh.
Ooh.
yeah.
Outdoors. I mean, if it ever
Ooh.
breaks, I don't think we can get it replaced. Again, insurance. But
Right.
we have video of my husband would stand on the diving board and drop my daughter, who was 1 at the
Oh, wow.
time. Oh, but she wanted to do it.
Yeah.
And people would just be like, I can't believe you're doing that to their daughter,
Yeah.
But she,
Shooting shots of
yeah,
Yeah, barbs.
she's a phenomenal swimmer, and I attribute it to just
Doing
dropping
that?
her in. Yeah.
Dropping off it. So, yeah.
Now, does she club swim or also like
Just
out of
in
season
the summer,
or just in the summer?
I mean,
yeah.
11. Again, I'm not
She's
in
little.
the whole year
No,
round
me
thing
neither.
just yet.
Yeah.
With 4 kids, you guys know,
It's
Yeah.
hard.
it's hard
yeah.
to manage.
And I think I just see so many more injuries with kids doing one sport year round or trying to feel like you have to do one sport year round. It seems like it's hard. I mean, it's hard on their bodies. Like cross training, like you said, when we were growing up, you could play 3 sports and nobody thought any worse of you if you stepped away from basketball to run track and then you spent your summer maybe focusing on your sports you really liked,
Yeah.
But nowadays, man, they'll just
Run
eat
you
you
to the
alive.
ground. Yeah.
If they're like, oh, you're stepping away. Well, yeah, well, I want to do this too, I
want to try it.
I'm only 16.
Yeah, it's really interesting to me because I remember seeing kids that would get injured at like 11, 12, 13, and because they're doing the travel, they're just overusing their bodies to the extent
Yeah.
as they grow. And I've often wondered what the logic is behind some of that stuff. I mean, if you're a phenomenal athlete and you're looking at going D1 or whatever, I mean, I get all that stuff, but I mean, so many kids probably aren't going to do that. So I mean, to the
Right.
logic behind devoting that much time and resources to that, with the risk of maybe injuring and burning them out for a sport that they initially loved, I've always
Yeah.
wondered what that was all about.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can't wrap my brain around it either
Yeah.
because, I wanted mine to be in pretty much
Multiple.
everything and try it
Right.
all out. And, breaks my heart now, my senior, who, we did put some resources in. He played baseball.
Sure.
We didn't go with the big travel baseball. Of course, my husband and a buddy, like, hey, we can make one of those teams up.
Right.
I don't even know what their logo was. The kids created it. I mean, it was great fun. But he doesn't, he's like, I'm not going to go to college and play baseball. So
Right.
Yeah.
it's like,
Okay.
oh, no. So,
Yes. Yeah.
Anyway, I mean, you got to let them do what
Do
they
what they
want
want
to
to
do.
do.
And
Yeah.
That was hard on me too when Harrison decided he wasn't going to play basketball anymore because I was like, oh, you could. I mean, he was a good athlete. He still is a good athlete.
He's over there smiling, shaking his head.
And I was like, oh my gosh, like how could you not want to? And then it took me a minute to be like, you know what? That's his life. He doesn't have the same aspirations or dreams.
right.
Michelle, you think a nuke dropped down on Indiana when I told them that I didn't want to play basketball anymore? It was absolutely just
Emily was
bonkers.
soft for sobbing for a week. Or
I
two.
was
like,
not
I would ask you why you're
sobbing.
crying, but I know why. So
I was like, it's ultimately it's your life. You got to decide. And sometimes.
Yeah. My husband keeps asking Hunter,
Yes.
my oldest, every day. He's like,
Are you sure?
Are you sure? I mean, we could call the coach.
we
Does
can
he
make
know
it
where
happen.
he's going to
like,
school
no.
yet?
We have it narrowed down. So, West Virginia
Oh wow!
Okay.
or Ball State.
Okay.
So we'll see.
That's like too extreme. Like,
Right.
I know. Well, he
why
got
West
into
Virginia?
the communication, the sports
Okay.
communication, and we went to West Virginia to do the visit. And I haven't been on a college visit in, forever. But wow, I mean, we were so impressed. It was.
Very different than when we were in college. Very
I want to go.
different.
You talk about this athletics and everything, and they're just like student center.
Oh
Yeah.
my God! It's better
I
than
mean,
the gyms we go to. We belong to. We pay for.
It's got 5, basketball courts, volleyball courts, pool, like a 200-foot rock wall, for
Oh,
kids to
right.
just release.
They had like this dark. If you want to lift free weights at UT, it's like this dark closet over here. They'd lock you in.
And I'm like, what is this? This is great. But anyway, he just loved it. And, they have great partnerships with Fox Sports and ESPN,
cool.
different things like that.
Right.
So
That's
Now,
awesome.
Harrison
He's super
was
pumped
Luke
about it.
Hallett, Harrison's friend Luke Hallett, which graduated. Was he sports communication?
Oh yeah, Luke Hallett. He was. He's been my buddy since high school, and he was in sports communication. Now does announcements for or casting for like a couple. He goes like all around to different areas where he's in, because he's in North Carolina, and he goes to. He works for a couple of different colleges around the area that are like D2, D3.
Did he go to
So,
Bradley?
what'd you say?
Did he go to Bradley?
No, he went to IU.
He went to IU.
Oh, okay.
Oh, yeah.
So yeah,
Bradley
there's one
was
person.
one of the other ones that
yeah,
he
that
was
I knew
on
that
his
that was one
list.
Luke had thought about going to because of that program, I think, or something. But yeah, it's fun. They listen to him. He'll be on, and so then the friends will listen to him, and so I think that's cool. You hear your friend's voice.
It's just so funny because his announcer voice is like
his announcer voice is
Doesn't sound like
different.
Luke.
yeah.
I think they have a whole class on like how to work your voice.
Right.
I'm
I'm
sure I'll
sure.
listen to mine on this and be like,
Oh, I need that class. Yeah, I know, right? Well, listen, we won't tie up any more of your time, but one of the things we do with the podcast guests is one of the questions that we frequently ask them is, if you could tell your 20-year-old self something, what would you tell them?
oh wow. Gosh, I would probably just say enjoy life, because I mean, obviously we know we've been talking about sports and stuff, and just with Kobe Bryant yesterday and everything.
Sure.
And it's just, you never know when your time comes. And so just enjoy life.
The moments, right?
And yeah, take every moment and really live it to the fullest. So
Yeah, that's a common theme. A
Yeah.
lot of people have mentioned that, as
Live in the present.
yeah, live in the present, like when you're there, and enjoy it. Like that whole saying of smell the roses, and
Right.
take it all in and not be in such a hurry to get to the next thing, because everyone seems like they're on a continual quest.
It seems like
So the-
people always look, I mean, myself included, you're always looking back or forward instead of where you
Yeah.
really are right then. So to the extent you can just live in that present, enjoy it, and cherish it, and say this is important because it's now. So
Right.
that's
Yeah.
awesome.
yeah. And I think too, my my mom's getting older, and my in-laws, and it's, I just want to be able to talk with them as often as I can,
Yeah.
So I call my mom every morning on the way to work, and
Oh, cool.
just have those conversations.
That's really cool.
just
Not great. You set
never
that
know.
up for my mom. Thanks a lot. No, I'm just kidding. Mom, I'll call you, I promise. She's probably watching right now, or she's going to be watching. So she's going to send me a text. It hasn't come through just yet. Let's just see. I'll give her about 5 minutes. She's like, I'm expecting a call tomorrow at 8 a.m. Oh, gosh. No, that's a good policy to live by. That's
Yeah.
for sure.
I tell my husband all the time, like, call your parents. They're at
Yes.
snowbirds, down in Naples,
Yeah.
Florida for
that's
7
cool.
months, and so we don't get to
See them.
see them that often. But
Yeah.
That's awesome. Well, we'd like to thank you for coming on today. Thanks everybody for watching and listening to the podcast. 5 Boys in the Business. And did you have anything else?
No, I just want to say thank you so much for taking time. I know you're busy at work and school and everything else, and you have a lot of people pulling you in different directions. So thank you so much for taking time to come share your thoughts and your vision and all of those things with us. We really appreciate it.
Well, thanks
So,
for having me. It was great.
Yeah,
Oh, thanks
absolutely.
so much.
Fun.
So this is 5 Boys in the Business. I'm Richie King.
Emily King, and this is,
Michelle Boyd.
and we'll see you next time on 5 Boys in the Business.
We're out.